Hi everyone, Aidan here with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Timbren front suspension enhancement system on our 2015 Toyota 4Runner. Now the first thing I want to know is how this performs. This isn't my vehicle, we've already got them installed, and I want to hear what my cameraman John thinks. This is actually his vehicle and he's very familiar with how it drives day to day on the stock suspension. So for me, I want to see how he thinks the new one performs compared to the old one. So I'm going to pass the microphone off to him, I'll hold the camera, and we can see how John feels about it whenever he's driving around on our test course. Alright, we've got John in the car here driving around. We've been testing these bump stops out. John, what do you think? How does it compare?
I really enjoy them whenever I'm deciding to do some different turns and all that. There's not that much body roll. Bumps are a little bit better. I can definitely still feel the bumps, but it definitely feels like there's pushback compared to when we had the ones on before, the ones that it came with. So I really do think that they're helping. But overall, if I was wanting to have something for just a little extra suspension, especially if I'm on some more rough terrain, I think these are a great choice. I really like them.
Cool. So these are designed to replace your factory bump stops. We've got the factory one here and an example of what the new one is going to look like side by side. You can see the pretty significant size difference here. So already you can expect that we're going to get better performance out of this. It's going to give us quicker engagement with the vehicle and provide more support. So we're not bottoming out on this factory one as quickly. We're getting that extra support to help the rest of our suspension components last longer. Now, while you might be familiar with rear axle suspension enhancement, this front one's going to be a little bit different, where on the side with the rear axle, that's more used in towing applications where we've got a load on the hitch, some tongue weight, bringing the back end down, and we need some extra support there. For the front end, we're not going to notice too much difference in terms of things like ride height because we're not loading up the front end with a bunch of cargo. The front suspension is going to be more for ride quality, so if we're driving on rough roads, maybe even off-roading, we're going to see a lot more support with something like this where it's rougher ride conditions and we need that extra support. The other area we're going to see a lot of support with these is the side-to-side movement of our 4Runner. Because again, these are a lot taller and are going to engage quicker, we're going to get a little bit less body roll with something like this versus the factory one where there's more room for travel. So these are going to be constructed of a hollow Aidan rubber material, and it's going to engage in a progressive fashion, which means the more they compress, the more they're going to support. They can support a load of 1,800 pounds. Now that doesn't mean we can start exceeding our vehicle's weight carrying capacity. That's just what these are designed to support and handle. They are a custom fit for the 4Runner here, so if you've got a different vehicle, be sure to check our fit guide and find the right kit for you. But this one is designed to be a no-drill application, just thread right into where that factory bump stop came off and be a perfect fit for the 4Runner. And speaking of that installation process for the 4Runner, let's check out how we did it. Starting off the installation, you want to find a way to lift the vehicle up. Now, we've got ours on a lift right now, just enough so that the lift is locked in place and it's safe for us to use. You definitely don't need a lift at home. Really, just a jack with some jack stands to get the front end up and the tires off the ground just a little bit to let that suspension hang. Once that's done, we're actually going to remove the tire to give us more access and room to shoot underneath. You could probably get it done without the tire off, but it's going to be way easier taking it off and having that extra room to work. So if you are going that route, get the tire removed and we'll get to our suspension in the next step. So with the tire removed, it's a lot easier to see behind our brake right here where our factory bump stop is. Now ours is pretty corroded and tough to get off. We already did the other side. So it's recommended that you spray some penetrating oil on it just to make those threads release a little bit easier. Now this next part, especially if yours are a little corroded like ours, will be pretty tedious. But we found it easiest to get a large set of channel locks around the factory bump stop. There's a metal plate. Just find a place where they'll grab and just slowly start working it off until it's fully removed. For that initial breaking loose of the bump stop, it may be beneficial to use something like a monkey wrench that's giving us more contact on that metal plate for that initial bit of breaking it loose. As it gets looser, those channel locks become a lot more useful around the top part, where we can turn it much easier, get a lot more grip, and get this to the point where we can get it loose and remove it by hand, right about here. And once that's removed, you can just set that to the side because we're not going to be reusing this. Now our new one will just thread up into place. Inside the bump stop, there's going to be a head for an 8mm Allen wrench. Now that's going to be hard to reach once it's attached. I'll show you as we start getting it in place, because that will just thread into the factory weld nut, and we can tighten it most of the way by hand. Now the problem we run into at this point when we want to fully tighten it down with a tool is that our Allen key doesn't have a lot of room to get in there. So the short end, where we're going to have more leverage to turn, is too short. It doesn't reach the head of that bolt. And from here, there's not enough clearance from the vehicle end to get the tool up on there and turn it. So what we actually ended up doing is taking one of these Allen keys that we had laying around and cutting off the end and using a 5/16 wrench with some tape on the end so it doesn't fall through to hold it in place. That's enough to feed up into there and have clearance with the vehicle on this arm right here. And then we can get it fully tightened down with the wrench where we've got better leverage. And with those installed, repeat that on both sides, and of course you can reattach your wheel. And that was our look at an installation of the Timbren front suspension enhancement system on our 2015 Toyota 4Runner. Thanks for watching.